Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman putting together just an absolute clinic on how to use the transfer portal, landing another commitment, this time coming from edge rusher RJ Oben, coming over from Duke. And a couple things that really jump off the page for RJ Oben, and we'll get a little bit more into the player of RJ Oben in just a second. The proven production and the experience, right? This is a guy coming over from Duke at the Power 5 level, 18 and a half tackles for loss, 13 and a half sacks. And watching a little bit of the film on him, as he was one of the more coveted guys in the transfer portal, he's a guy that you can tell he's played a ton of football. He knows how to use his hands. He has a very deep tool bag of pass rush moves. And what I like most about Notre Dame and their approach in the transfer portal is, one, they're being proactive. And two, and more importantly, they're identifying the spots on their roster where they want to improve. Right, obviously the quarterback position with Riley Leonard, grabbing an experienced, high upside quarterback. We talked about him yesterday. Massive fan of that. But then the wide receiver room and going out and getting a couple guys that are going to come in and provide a ton of experience and a ton of production to that young wide receiver room. And then going out and getting one of the premier edge rushers available in the transfer portal in an era of the college football portal where seemingly teams just grab as many players as they can in the transfer portal. I think Marcus Freeman is doing a really good job balancing. Yeah, we're still going to recruit at the high school ranks. They got a top 10 class coming in 2024, and we're going to use the transfer portal to go and get quality, experienced college football players to supplement the parts of our roster where we want to increase our talent and depth, and that's exactly what they are doing. Really big fan of what Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame are doing in the portal. Before we get into RJ Oben and then talk about the overall transfer portal haul for Notre Dame, just want to say thank you to you guys and a shout out to the Notre Dame fans. We've been talking Riley Leonard. We talked Chris Mitchell, Bo Collins. The amount of support you guys have shown the boys for all of these updates, it means a lot. I mean, the reason I'm able to do this is because of your guys' support. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, thank you guys for rocking with the boys like you guys have. And let's get into RJ Oben. And again, you take a look at what he's done throughout his career. Production's there. 18 and a half tackles for loss, 13 and a half sacks. There's a reason he had so many Power 5 offers when his name hit the transfer portal, right? Florida State was in on him hard. Couple other programs within the SEC and the ACC going after RJ Oben. And Notre Dame's able to land him. I mean, top 20 player in the transfer portal, the number 3 edge rusher available. Production's there. The experience is there. You go back to the 2023 year, a 13.6% pass rush win rate, over 14 quarterback hurries. This is a guy that's shown that he can do it at the Power 5 level. And when you watch the film, I mean, this is an all-around quality edge rusher that you can tell has been at the college football level for a very long time. And you can just turn on the film real quickly and see really good hand usage. I mean, he knows how to get hands off of him in terms of tackles trying to pick him up. He's got really nice burst and bend around the edge, but also has that ability to go speed to power and get right into tackles and kind of drag them and collapse the pocket. So when you have the tool bag that RJ Oben has in terms of pass rush moves, and that comes from playing 5 years of Power 5 football, you're going to be a good edge rusher. And the ability to win with speed and burst, the ability to win with power through tackles, it makes you really hard to pick up. And I feel like that is what makes RJ Oben kind of one of the more coveted pass rushers that you see in the portal. And the thing I have in my notes right here, that's probably my favorite aspect of watching RJ Oben, just relentless. And like, you can find a lot of sacks and negative plays by just being a relentless pass rusher. First, second move doesn't work. The quarterback's trying to extend the play, and you are just going after. You have that motor. As a Michigan fan, and Aiden Hutchinson probably comes to mind as having that kind of motor and tenacity. That's what RJ puts on the film. I mean, this dude doesn't quit. He does not stop. And even if you're not getting to the quarterback immediately and winning immediately with the pass rush move, you have the ability to continue to get after it. He kind of finds a lot of sacks by just being a relentless pass rusher. Really big fan of RJ Oben, what he's going to bring to Notre Dame, and I really do like the culture fit. Obviously, coming over with Riley Leonard from Duke makes a lot of sense. And you take a look at this Notre Dame class in 2024, and again, Marcus Freeman, in an era where I don't think a ton of teams are doing this that well, are balancing out getting guys in the transfer portal, but also kind of having the media roster still coming from the high school class. You look at the blueprint, right? The Georgia Bulldogs, Michigan, Alabama. Those guys, those programs, they recruit from the high school ranks. They develop those guys, they build that culture, and then they look at, in the offseason, are there any position groups or players that we need to address in the transfer portal? And then they go out and make those small adjustments. And you see the teams that I think struggle with that long-lasting success and culture are the teams that are going and kind of flipping their roster every single year through the transfer portal. I mean, Notre Dame's getting aggressive. They've landed 5 transfers already, and I think they're still going after a few more, but you're not going to see Notre Dame go and grab 15, 20, 25 guys in the transfer portal like some other schools. One, because they don't have to, because they're doing a good job in the high school class. And then 2, like, that is not how Marcus Freeman wants to find long-term success at the college football level. And quite frankly, I don't think that's how you find it. And so taking a look at this class, I mean, there needed to be a quarterback brought in, right? When you have Sam Hartman leaving, and I really like the addition of Riley Leonard coming in, really high upside. You already know what he is. When he's healthy, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the country, but has in my mind, a much higher upside than a guy like Sam Hartman. He's going to give you one really good year where I think Notre Dame's going to be able to push for a college football playoff appearance as it's expanded to 12 teams. And then you got CJ Carr coming in next, or Minchie, or whoever you want, but you feel good about the experience in your quarterback room with Riley Leonard, and you feel really good about the young bucks in your wide receiver room as well. And then they looked at the wide receiver room and said, yep, you guys left the program. We needed to address this. We kind of knew we needed to address this as this season was playing out. They go get a guy in Bo Collins, who I think has a ton of upside coming from Clemson. They go get a guy in Chris Mitchell, who's one of the more productive receivers at the group of 5 level last year in 2023. And then they looked at that edge rusher room and say, the edge rushers, I think Riley Mills, Howard Cross, those guys were good. Jean Baptiste was good. But outside of some of those guys, you needed a little bit more juice in terms of guys coming off the edge. RJ Oben is going to come in and immediately be a guy that can provide that kind of juice. And obviously Jordan Clark coming from Arizona State, joining a secondary that was really, really good last year, but might lose some guys. This is a really good class that Marcus Freeman's putting together, and it's calculated. And it's not just blindly taking all the players that are available in the transfer portal, because they already got a really good roster in that building. They have a really strong culture. Marcus Freeman really starting to get his feet wet and get a better grip on being a head coach. I think he's one of the up-and-coming head coaches across the country, and he's doing a really good job constructing this roster. Now, 2 guys I want to talk about in terms of probably the next 2 biggest targets for Notre Dame. We've already talked about Josh Kelly. It's between Josh Kelly and Jamal Banks in terms of maybe adding one more veteran wide receiver who's done it at the college football level. And I'll say this, after watching Josh Kelly and being very familiar with Jamal Banks as a Wake Forest fan, I like Josh Kelly here. I think he would come in and fit this Notre Dame offense really well. You have some bigger bodies like Bo Collins, like Jaden Greathouse, who can work vertically down the field, work the middle of the field. I would like to see them bring a wide receiver in who maybe can somewhat fill that role of what Chris Tyree was doing for Notre Dame in terms of creating separation early, being really good after the catch. Josh Kelly kind of fits that mold. Now, that's no knock on a guy like Jamal Banks, who is 6'4", 210 pounds, and can kind of win vertically down the field. He catches a lot of touchdowns. He's really good in the red zone. But I feel like you kind of have those guys with Bo Collins and Jaden Greathouse. What I'm looking at is a guy that can create separation, be a quarterback's best friend in terms of those short intermediate route trees. And that's kind of where Josh Kelly makes his money. So you're looking at maybe adding one more wide receiver. I would lean Josh Kelly, but Jamal Banks would be a phenomenal addition too. And I think what you're most excited for is Marcus Freeman looking at this roster, having a real conversation with his staff and saying, this wide receiver room needs some more depth, it needs some more talent, and it needs some more experience. And they've done it with Chris Mitchell. They've done it with Bo Collins. And they might do it with either Josh Kelly or Jamal Banks coming up. But going back to RJ Oben, another position that we kind of talked about in terms of getting a pass rusher into Notre Dame off the edge that has some juice in the pass rush. I mean, RJ Oben, really deep tool bag of moves as a pass rusher, going to be an instant impact kind of guy for Notre Dame. And Marcus Freeman keeps rolling on the recruiting trail in that transfer portal. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. It has been a blast covering this Notre Dame program in the transfer portal. You guys have shown a ton of support. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.